Well, it is the unofficial last week of summer. Do you know where your congressman is? Still on vacation. But when most of America gets back to work and school next week, where do you think they'll be? Still on vacation. Because for all of September, all of 9 working days before an October 1st budget deadline, when everything could hit the fan. But if you think there is a sense of alarm on the Hill know, consider this little nugget. Among the pressing items that Congress is taking up when they do get back to work for those 9 days, a hearing on the environment. Pardon me, but that wasn't quite the storm I was talking about. Welcome, everybody. Glad to have you. I'm Neil Cavuto. And say what you will of a president who likes to bypass Congress. Sometimes you really can't blame him because it's hard to find Congress. So you have a Democrat who Republicans say loves to spend, but you've also got a Republican opposition that loves to talk about making sure he doesn't spend. But a House Speaker whose best proposal to keep the government spending is by keeping the government going for another couple of months while Republicans get their ducks in order. Now, you tell me, how quacked is this? To a billionaire who's had enough of this and a two-party system that routinely does this, which is why Mark Cuban argues there's got to be a better way, maybe a third-party way. To the Dallas Mavericks owner who doesn't like the way this particular ball is bouncing, or the sorry excuse on both sides for what is supposed to be leading. Mark, going along with so much tonight. Good to have you.
Thanks for having me on.
What do you think of this? You had sort of talked about that out loud before the campaign, during the campaign, I would imagine since the campaign. For good reason, right? You're just frustrated.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I don't think anybody fully identifies with either party any longer. And both parties have taken the position that they have to be pure. And, you know,
to their ideological extremes.
Well, exactly. You can't have, there's no room for impurities at all. And so I think that means most people aren't fully represented. And I'd love to see a third party form, call it the GDI, you know, whatever it may be, that really says that parties and people don't have to be perfect. Let's just go out there and try to solve problems.
But you haven't been actively involved in the political process, you know, setting up like a group that would be sympathetic to your views. No. So why not?
Well, the time, you know, it's not even so much money as time. I mean, to do this is all-consuming, and it's got to be something that's all you think about all day long, that you're willing to effectively commit all your time.
But if you're frustrated enough with the process...
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, I've got 10,000 other things going on, and I've actually been supportive to other people who have said they're going to take that first step. I mean, in 08, there was Unity 08 that was going to take a step, and some other folks have approached me, and I'm more than willing to listen, but it really requires somebody that is willing to commit resources and, more importantly, time.
What do you think of some of those who have initiated that, then targeted by the IRS?
You know, I'm not again, I don't look at these things. I'm not paranoid about all these things going on, right? To say that what's happened on the Republican side, they've been targeted in our party, I'm not buying it. Honestly, I'm more on the side that it's not a scandal.
Really?
Yeah, because I think, again, it goes to the purity. Whenever you take something, when there were 10,000 actions happening and you pick on 100 of them, you can anecdotalize and create any type of story that you want. You know,
there was a pattern to that.
There were multiple patterns.
Much ado about nothing.
Well, yeah, because like I said, when you have 10,000 instances, it's the signal and the noise, right? When you have 10,000 instances, you can find 100 and call it a pattern when it's not really a pattern. But more importantly, I'm not trying to dismiss what anybody's doing on either side. More importantly, you know, if you go out and you accomplish things, that stuff doesn't matter, right? If we're going out there and this government, Congress is doing things, all those things become fodder and all those things come, you know, fall to the wayside. It's just when everybody has to be so pure in everything that they're doing, they like to victimize themselves because it helps confirm their purity. Look at me, right? I've been picked on.
I'm a victim,
so I'm pure.
Then what you were a big supporter of the president in 2008
and 12.
You elected for him again. But you've expressed frustration with him. I think you said he's clearly a very smart guy, almost too smart. What did you mean?
Well, you know, he's smart enough to understand what he's doing and smart enough to understand what to avoid. And I think he knows how to play the political process. Where I've had a problem with him, and again, I generally support what he's done in a big way, but I think transparency is important. And I think we live in an era where there's so much technological opportunity, and there's so many advances, and we're able to support big data in so many ways that you really need transparency so that all these smart people could do smart things.
Well, are you saying that regard to the NSA and the surveillance issue too?
Less than
was
that.
he on top of that? Should he have been on top of that? Is that too much for Mark Cuban?
Is that too much? Well, come on, Dale.
Well, you're Mr. Internet Star, right? You
Right.
got your fortune there, and now there are signs of abuses.
Again, I don't see it as that big a deal.
Really?
Honestly. Look, I get audited almost every year. All my foundations get audited pretty much every year. Most of my businesses get audited every year.
Is this going to happen in Democrat and Republican administrations alike?
I don't feel like a victim.
Okay.
Right? I still got to go out and my business still has to compete and I still have to do things. With the NSA, it's disappointing that there wasn't transparency up front that they were doing this and that we had to find out about it in a way that we did. But in reality, bits are bits. I mean, if you think that your mailbox was protected and they couldn't find out what they wanted to, if you think that there's just not nearly as much privacy as people would like to expect, and particularly in an era where I'd rather be protected. You know,
You're almost sounding like the old Scott McNeely line, if you want your privacy, get over it.
Yeah.
Is it that bad?
It is that bad. Or that good.
Then when you